Now let's bring in David Cole. The auto industry is part of his lineage. His father was the former president of GM. Dr. Cole is chairman of AutoHarvest and chairman emeritus of the Center for Automotive Research. He joins us now from the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor. Dr. Cole, welcome to Bloomberg's Bottom Line. A pleasure to have you on.
Well, good to be with you, Mark.
Dr. Cole,
great to be with you.
For the first time in almost 7 years, all of the big three automakers are making money. What does this say about the financial health of the U.S. auto industry?
Well, it really has improved dramatically, and we're still at a depression level of sales. If we were at a recession, we would have about 14 million units of sales, and we're well below that. But what it says is that the restructuring that the industry has gone through has been absolutely amazing. We have never seen things change so quickly as we have seen over the past few years in this industry. And when you think of a job at an auto manufacturer, that's a real job because it has a multiplier of 10. For every new job at a GM, Ford, Chrysler, or Honda, Toyota here in this country, there are 9 other jobs. So it is something you can really build an economic expansion on. So it's really good news.
Our economics editor Michael McKee also pointing out that auto employment is up as well. How much of this rebound is due to last year's safety recalls by Toyota and by the earthquake in Japan in March?
Well, those are certainly two big factors. I think what the safety recall of Toyota did is it really sort of blew away the halo that all of the Japanese brands have had with respect to quality. And the fact is that the quality of all of the manufacturers today is very good. I mean, the Japanese are outstanding car manufacturers. That's very true. But the earthquake has been very tough. And in one of your reports, you mentioned the parts issue. But one of the most significant things is that with a shortage of electric power, you can't run the factories all the time. So it's a double-barreled hit, and I think we're going to continue to see a lot of turbulence in this industry, whether it's an outgrowth of the earthquake or recalls or the variability in gas prices or the general state of the economy. This is going to be a wild ride for as far as we can see into the future.
Then my colleague Michael McKee also raised an interesting point. He said that 3 times as many cars GM is selling, 3 times as many cars in China as Toyota is. What accounts for that?
Well, they have good partners in China. You can't go into China by yourself. You have to go in a partner relationship. They have a good mix of products, from small vans to small cars to the Buicks, which are more of a semi-luxury car there. They've worked very well with their partners, excellent marketing. And the Chinese market has run past our market and will never look back. I mean, they're going to be the premier market for autos as far as we can see into the future. And at some point, we're just starting to see the acceleration in the India market as well. They're going to be very strong. So we might end up in 3rd place after this is all over with.
Dr. Cole, U.S. consumer confidence is on the rise. Is that going to translate into purchases of big-ticket items like cars? And will car makers pivot and drop incentives that they've offered to lure customers into the showrooms?
Well, first of all, the incentives are already going down. GM, for example, reduced incentives by about 10% last month. They had peaked up a little bit earlier in the year, and now they're dropping back down. A lot depends on the overall trend in the mood of consumers. And as you mentioned, we've seen some shift to more fuel-efficient cars. But when you think about energy, it is a critical factor in this industry, whether it's the consumer and what they buy, or the manufacturers and how much it costs to make the cars. But it can change dramatically. Just remember, in 2008, we went from over $4 a gallon gas in the summer to $1.50 a gallon here in the Midwest before the first of the following year. And that's going to be one of the real challenges, is to have the agility to match up to the varying tastes of consumers. But with more flexible automation in plants, they're far better equipped to do it than they were in the past. And that cost structure, particularly of the domestics, is amazing. They literally have gone from a couple of $1,000 disadvantage compared to the internationals to the Europeans and the Japanese, maybe a $2,000 advantage. It's an unbelievable change in a very short period of time.
Dr. Cole, in our last minute, even with rising gas prices, is there still going to be a market for those so-called gas guzzlers?
I think so. I mean, people have needs that just can't be accommodated with small cars. We have 2 kids and their families. They each have 4 children. they don't fit into a subcompact. It would take 2 cars to satisfy what they need, and there are always going to be those kinds of situations. So despite the focus now on fuel efficiency, there are people that need larger vehicles, and guess what? We're figuring out how to make those larger vehicles much more efficient than they were a few years ago, too. So it's not quite the problem that it once was.
Dr. Cole, if I could ask you in about 20 seconds, is the push toward fuel efficiency here to stay? Even with the rise in gas prices, would it have come about anyway?
I hope that it would have come about anyway, and one of my uncertainties, one of the big questions is, what is the price of gas going to be? And I wish we would get away from climate change and focus on conservation. That's a place where we can unite.
Why do you say that, sir?
Very, very quickly.
Why do you say that?
We tend to find things to fight over than what unites us. You can make a good argument from a business standpoint that conservation makes good sense. If climate change is real, it makes good sense there. But we tend to find ways to disagree than to find something that we can agree on. And I think we'll get there. I mean, the progress that is being made in battery technology and non-food biofuels is astounding. I'm not sure it's ready for prime time yet. I'm not sure what the track is going to look like. But there is good news over the future. And unfortunately, the better we do there, probably the cheaper gasoline is going to be.
Dr. David Cole, he is the chairman of AutoHarvest, and he's chairman emeritus of the Center for Automotive Research, joining us from Ann Arbor. Dr. Cole, thanks so much. We appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me, Mark.